Another story. Alan Nixon has reported. This is about Cannon. So the article reads as follows: Vardy injury keeps Cannon powder dry. Jamie Vardy's injury is stopping Leicester City from sending Tom Cannon out on loan. And then reading a little bit later on, they basically, Sheffield Wednesday and Oxford have also inquired about Cannon, but are behind in the race. We're basically behind Sheffield United and West Brom. So Cannon is one of those that could be, you've put a pin in it until you see what Vardy's injury is, and he could be one of those deadline day signings. There's a possibility there. I
wouldn't mind him, but you're gonna nurse him. He's somebody who's had a back injury. He didn't play much for Leicester last season. I think he actually started, but he came off the bench when we got the 1-1 draw versus them. Because again, we spoke about Cannon last summer. There were talk of us possibly having a look at him. It would make sense, but it all depends on what goes on with Vardy and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I still think we need 2 strikers. Either way. I think he'll want to start, and if we get Ugbo, he probably won't start at us. So I reckon he'll possibly, because if I look at United, he probably fits United more. Yeah.
Saying that, I don't know very much about United because obviously I don't follow them, but I know they've lost strikers this season, haven't they? In the likes, and
they're just struggling to get
anybody over the line. Yeah. So they'd probably be more willing to have him as their starter. Whereas we know Ugbo is proven. So if Ugbo signs for us, it makes sense. I just think he would be a good signing, but it's a difficult one for me because he's a player where the club will want him to play. And if you want him to play all the time, we're not probably going to play two. We probably won't play him and Ugbo up front. So
I have just realised there's a story that I forgot to put in. Pierce Charles could be going out on loan potentially as well.
We'll talk about that in a second then. But let's just finish off on Cannon then. So Cannon is a 21-year-old striker. He made less than 15 appearances in the Championship last season, so he's not had too much football. Because of that? Do you know how long the injury was for?
Yes, I can tell you. Hang on Transfer Marketplace. I believe it was from the start of the season till it was around November time. I think he missed about 45 days. Injury. Right,
but he only made 13 appearances, scored 2 goals, got 1 assist, and that's the same league we're in now. Yes, he only had 423 minutes, so
he missed 10 games.
But that doesn't account for the other.
You got to remember, he did better when he was at Preston, but it wasn't much. He had 20 games and 8 goals and 1 assist when he was at Preston.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. If he's only had 20 games and he scored 8 goals, that is fantastic. If you can get that Tom Cannon, then you'd take that. But again, for me, that's a case of, right, he missed 10 games with injury. That makes 23. What happened to the other 20-odd games? Just didn't get picked.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't say to me he's a starter coming in, which I think Leicester would want him to be because they'd want him to have that Preston form of, that is fantastic. 20 appearances, 8 goals, 1 assist. That is brilliant.
I think about it, it's actually very good.
Yeah. But if he comes in and is that player, that makes sense. But I trust Danny. If Danny's interested, yeah, but I don't think we'll be saying he's going to be the number one striker for us if we get Ugbo. If we don't get Ugbo, that's a different case. Whereas I think if he goes to the likes of the players that are interested, the teams that are interested, such as United, I think he goes there, to be honest.
If you look at our first team right now, like the actual team, we've got Beadle, Charles Hamer, we've got Palmer, Diaby, Iorfa, Valentine, Lowe, Femuel, Awitwe, Bernard, and Valerie as your defenders. Your midfield is Bannon, Windass, Johnson, Chalobah, Lowe, Ingleson. I still don't know why Lowe's a midfielder, but it what it is. And up top, you've got Wilkes, Patterson, Smith, Gassama, McNeil, Kabaki, And that's not you say it. Masaba, Kanamatri. How much more do you think we're missing apart from Ugbo?
I do think we probably need another striker there. And I think if Sunderland are looking for a striker rather than Ugbo, there's this really, really young up and coming player called Malik Wilkes. I think you should sign for £5 million. That he'll work really well with Jan Paveda. So sign him. But I think this would make sense in terms of we do need another striker after Ugbo. We need a centre back, definitely. Yeah. Just because if Famio and Bernard could be a thing, but if Famio just does start having a wobble like he had last season, I'd be a little bit concerned. DRB is a good. He's a good enforcer, and he's a good footballer, but he's just got too many mistakes in him, especially for a team that plays out from the back. So I want somebody a little bit more sure on that. We can't just have. Because also think about this, if Bernard picks up a knock or something, then you lose your best centre-back and then you kind of stitch in the defence together. And obviously we've got Iorfa and the likes, but yeah, I do want another centre-back. I don't think we need any more wing positions. I think we're sorted. I think the midfield is actually shaping up all right, especially when you've got versatile players like Palmer. Chalobah, I think, could be a signing. Right. It's fantastic. I think Ingelsson could be a sleeping sort of... People are sleeping on it because of when I've seen him, I'm like,
so good.
Okay.
When I saw him in that Werder Bremen game, he was so good. He's gonna be one of these players that does really well and people like him, or he's gonna turn into the other people see what he does but don't rate him Pelopeti style thing. I think it can be one way or the other.
But because he's more of an attacking-minded player, I do think the former would happen. To be honest, mate.
The thing I got is, you say we don't need any more wingers, right? What happens if we're still in the running for, say, a Dembele?
Well, that makes sense because it pairs up. The reason I would say we're not necessarily interested, we don't need a winger, is because you've got Lowe, who is a forward but can play across the wing. You've obviously got Gassama and Masaba. You can stick Windass out there. You can stick Johnson out there. You've got players that can be versatile in those wing positions. Dembele would be more of a natural in that position. So yeah, again, I wouldn't be against it, because if you're looking for like two solid players that are natural in each of those wing positions, then yes, Dembele probably makes sense still. So I wouldn't be against it, but I wouldn't say it's a priority number one.